Hey team, let's have a look at your Rialto, see how well you did.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Stop the
So,
payload.
right off the gate, just to kind of set the scene a bit, this isn't how you're supposed to be doing a first point hold. These guys have completely messed up. Not only are they playing a Zarya over a Sigma, so they're immediately weaker, but a lot of their DPS and their squishy characters are deciding to push alone without any kind of support. This can work, but they need to be holding a lot more consolidated, and their Ryan is feeding his brains out right here. Case in point, Ryan feeds his brains out. So this is a one fight. So you're in a decently good position right now. So a positional mistake that happens here is that ideally we want our Widow all the way up here and holding a different angle. So we should have one of our DPS up here and maybe say our Widow here, here, or any other way around. Yeah, I think it's a mistake having one of our DPS here. I think if we're playing double shield, we ideally want to be in a situation where we can get crossfire set up on whatever angles we choose to hold. Okay, so you guys are pushed back, you're struggling to hold this angle. Now for the first major mistake that happens in this game. That right here is a pretty juicy dragon. Now, we decide to hang on to this dragon for the next fight. So, really nice pick on range. Just look at this dragon. Just look at this dragon. So, going back a bit. At any of this point, from pretty much here onwards, ideally Mongun is either calling for a pull or he is quite literally just putting his dragon somewhere here to completely cut them off or even get a couple of kills.
Where does it hurt?
However, this doesn't happen. He chooses instead to drop, which is a mistake as well, because as you can see, immediate death. And this is immediately followed up by a mistake on Ivory, who, upon knowing that their Kree is down here, decides to go for the res. So they've ulted, and this fight's over. That fight could have been won with a little bit of proactive use of abilities. This is kind of why I mentioned that you guys seemed a bit uncomfortable on double shield right after your right after your game, sorry, because you seem to not really kind of know how to use ults, or you kind of just you pause and you kind of wait for setups to happen rather than proactively trying to use them. Really nice immortality, keeps everyone alive. Interesting shatter. It's nothing. That's unfortunate. Yeah, and that's also really unfortunate. However, Inflames gets to clean up. Although it looks a little bit shaky there for a second. So, right now, you're currently down 2 people. Or I suppose you're down 1 as the reds came out. We're about to see kind of a mistake from 2 people here. That I would think does cost you this fight. So right now you are down Zood. Zood is still really far away. You have no protection for when they push you. Ideally, the call is currently being made to either back up completely and kind of retreat around here a bit, or instead to hold here behind the cart and just kind of stall them out. However, what you shouldn't be doing is pushing. Regardless of which you choose to do, this is a positional error from Mogan. He should never be there at all. Ideally, I think in this situation he would be set up here with the Mercy, and that would enable you to set up a crossfire so when the Rhine does drop, you can just spam him from two angles and stop him from doing anything. And then you have Inflames holding back here, pretty much making sure that at least the card is contested, but that they can't get anything really done. Okay, so you've just lost your DPS. I think this window here is fine. I would have ideally expected it to be used a couple of seconds earlier. Let's see, when is it good to window?
Helden sterben nicht.
Yeah, so he has a window here. So does he use it off cooldown? Almost, yeah. So, shame he didn't get it a bit earlier. However, putting down the supercharger as well, this was a mistake, because you're down most of your DPS and no one can benefit from this. It gets taken out easily, extremely easily actually, because it's just put out in the open. Yeah, you probably wanted it shielded a bit more in this corner, or maybe even behind this, close to this lamppost, just so it's much harder for them to get to it. Although I don't think it would have mattered because you're already down. So they throw beat into this fight to make sure they win it. You've lost this fight. So this fight is lost. You guys shouldn't be trying to survive here. You should either be dying quickly or trying to get picks.
60 seconds remaining.
That was a throw as well. I'm not sure what that all was, but I'm sure Inflames knows that that was a mistake. That's also probably cost you the next fight because you were coming up to Dragon as well, and Dragon Flux is actually a really good ult combo. You can flux people up in the air and throw Dragon underneath them, so you can guarantee a couple of picks like that. There's a lot of burst damage. So I believe this next fight just ends up with you guys getting out ulted.
30 seconds remaining.
So what I will mention in the King's Row game, when I eventually get to it, that happens here, that I'd like to see Zood start doing, is I'd like to see him start looking for shatters that aren't necessarily into their Reinhardt, but looking instead to perhaps isolate targets. So, which is exactly what Papag is doing here. He sees that Ryan's over here, he's got a nice clear line of shatter, he's going straight for our support. No chance. No chance of survival. And that's game, I think. I don't think you guys have a chance to touch. Zood goes ball, can he get there in time? No, he gets knocked back and body pops. Yeah, a couple of proactive mistakes here as well as positioning errors that cost you this game. People kind of, I don't think a single person used their ult correctly here, except for maybe Window, but that's Window, you use that off cooldown anyways. So I'd like to see perhaps better consolidation of what your actual plan is when you're playing Double Shield, what you hope to achieve, who your focus targets are, who you prioritize over others. We'll see what you do on defense. I think you choose to do what they did. Yeah, you do, don't you? You put the Pharmacy above, which is fine. Pharmacy is really good on this first point when you're doing close holds because it's super difficult to reach. Okay, so they're playing their standard rush comp. I'd be careful here with the shield inflames. You mentioned earlier that you find your shields going down quite a lot. You don't need to shield this. The only person you should ever be looking to shield are any of their off angles. So Kree in this case, you should probably be putting your shield like here. Their Ana is also fine. If you push their shield past their Zarya, you can put it here, or their Widowmaker by putting the shield like here. However, it's a bit difficult to get to the second one, so either of these first two are fine. You don't need to use it to protect Reinhardt. Ideally, what you're doing is you're kind of your hands should be used to cycle shield, if that makes sense. So if Zood's shield is going low, you are going up to him and throwing your hands up and catching any damage that's coming his way. You don't really use shield. It's not like with Orisa where you're kind of using shield. Whoops. It's not like Orisa where you're kind of using shield to cycle between the two. Especially not with a new cooldown, it's really difficult to do so.
Ready for battle. One.
So Amzo gets picked quite early here in this fight because of the aforementioned shield problem. So ideally, the second you see their DPS are there and your Rein is fine, you are putting your shield back and waiting for that Widow to peek. You see the shot come here. Immediately, barrier should be going up. Which is unfortunate. So you guys get staggered here, that's fine. As long as you're contesting card, it doesn't matter. Funnily enough, where Ivory is right now, on top of this gas station right here, you can contest car from here. So if you're getting down low and you want to try and draw out the fight, so you have time to regroup, just if you're like your Pharaoh or your Mercy, just stay up here and contest forever. Brave resurrection from Ivory. / Fruity. / White Noodles. If that even is your real name. So you start off this fight with something quite nice from you guys. You'll be happy to know. Yep, Kree gets really cheeky. And you guys punish immediately. That is really nice from In Flames and Ivory here to recognize that this has happened, that Amzo's in trouble, and even Zood's backing off a bit to give them protection. Super nice job from you guys. So again, you've taken up some off angles, this is good. However, we start losing players because this is a positional mistake from In Flames and Ivory. What started off as a really nice punish has now just resulted in feeding. Yep, they back off, which is good. You guys are up 2. You're up 3 actually, aren't you? However, unfortunately, Mountain goes down. That's a bit awkward. And this is a mistake from Amzo and Ivory here, I think. I think Amzo's going for a play, but there's a really high chance that Zood could have survived this if both Ivory and Amzo had they were positioned more around here, rather than trying to look for this off flank, which is a bit dodgy. I think there's a high chance he would have lived. As it stands, he doesn't, and they have free reign to do whatever they want. They've lost this fight. And that's the game. Yeah, unfortunate that you don't even get first. I think pretty much every mistake here was either from proactivity or just straight up positional. There are multiple times here where people were just caught off from taking really weird off angles, which you need to try and avoid. It's important that you are always trying to communicate with each other about where you are and what you're doing. So if one of your DPS wants to take an off angle, it's important that they're calling that they want to do so, and it's really important that In Flames, if he's playing Sigma, is then helping them and taking a separate off angle and throwing a shield up to protect them. I don't think you even get the touch, do you?
The payload is approaching its destination.
In comes Zood. Unlucky, Brian diffed.
Victory.
That's rough, yeah. I think you guys got outplayed quite heavily on this one, from the aforementioned. So yeah, in summary, make sure you know what your priorities are on double shield, make sure you're communicating as such, watch your positioning, try and look for situations where you can either isolate targets or be proactive with your ultimates to win fights. And yeah, that's about it. I'll be looking at Volskaya next on your attack because there's a few things that go wrong there, and then I'll follow that with King's Row. Thanks guys.